Dr. Lopez, before you get comfortable, we have a few students that wants to recognize you for something. So come back up, please, ma'am.
So, hi y'all, we're Ujima's officers, and we are giving this award to Queen Mother herself. Somebody that I can speak for many people in Ujima and say that we've adopted as family, and without any regrets at all. In appreciation of Dr. Gina Lopez for your relentless dedication to students and liberation through education. PCC Ujima, Black Academia, and Black Council.
We want to give Dr. Lopez her flowers, and the students love her so much, and this is dedicated to the students, this work. Whenever you see myself and Dr. Lopez at any board table, any meeting, we have an agenda. And that is to elevate our most precious and our most amazing stakeholders, and that is the students. So we just want to applaud you. Okay, just really quick to give you some background about the Social Justice Committee that was created through Academic Senate. It is a brand new subcommittee, and the reason why that matters is because it was birthed out of a desire to make sure that things like this take place on campus. We wanted a group that was dedicated to social justice, that was dedicated to elevating hold on. Yeah, that's right, you tell them. Yeah. We wanted a space that was permanent on campus, a space and a group of people that would be dedicated to make sure initiatives like this happen. So we thought what better place than to do it through the body of the Academic Senate. And so myself and I was gonna say Dr. Lindsay, okay, I'm speaking the truth, okay? One day, myself and Professor Ruiz, we co-chair the Social Justice Committee. And what we do is, like I said, we make sure initiatives like this take place. We came up with the concept of creating an anti-racist policy, which was birthed from the anti-racist resolution that was unanimously passed by the Academic Senate. So we worked really hard, and some of you in this room saw us traveling with our anti-racist policy, trying to get it passed. And everybody on campus, every constituency voted yes in passing the anti-racist policy. So thank you guys for that. Oh yeah, it's posted outside this building if you want to take a look. And then also with that, we wanted our campus to continue to have an avenue for learning. And so Lindsay's going to talk about the the Ed Talks.
Thank you. So in addition to the beautiful photography that we've seen today, we also have something called Ed Talks, which are like TED Talks. They are short discussions. And we have two amazing faculty giving 2 Ed Talks today. They're about 10 minutes apiece, so they're very short. But we wanted to have a way for faculty, and perhaps even beyond faculty after this, we're very open, this is new, but to share what liberation looks like to them in the classroom, and to show what it means for students. And so we've opened up these Ed Talks, and so if you're interested, you may apply, and the Social Justice Committee is in charge. going through the applications, but we would be very grateful to have more participation on these Ed Talks. And so that's what we're going to see today, is the very first of our Ed Talks. So, and I'm going to introduce our very first speaker. Yes, Dr. Amy Tahani Bidneshki will be, go ahead. Okay. She will be coming up as our very first presenter, so we have to give her our deep gratitude and thanks. And we will be recording these, so they will truly be Ed Talks that you can share with others. We'll share it with the campus and beyond. So we're very grateful that you're here, and we're so grateful specifically to Dr. Tahani Bidneshki for being here and sharing with us her ideas. So thank you so much.
And following Amy, we will have Shelby.
Shelby McIntyre.
McIntyre. Wave your hand, Shelby, and she'll be coming up. Okay.
So it's all yours.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and
Oh.
Hi everyone. I realize I shouldn't have trimmed my kitten's nails today because every time I clap it stings. Okay. So hello, I'm Dr. Amy Tahani Bidneshki, and thank you for making time to be here today. A special thank you to the Academic Senate and the Social Justice Committee in particular for this invaluable opportunity to talk about something that has been on my mind and heart for some time. Last semester, students in 2 different classes shared with me that there are non-Black faculty on our campus that openly use a particular 6-letter word and encourage students to do the same when reading certain texts. Several colleagues told me that they have heard the same thing about faculty. This 6-letter word is all too familiar to those of us raised and educated in the United States. It is a word we all know because at some point we have read, heard, or seen it used. In fact, as historian Elizabeth Stodier-Pryor highlights, many folks first encountered this word in educational settings with white teachers. Stodier-Pryor reminds us that any non-Black person's use of the term upholds white supremacy no matter the context, while Black people's usage indicates a multitude of reasons which non-Black peoples have absolutely no right to control. Here at PCC, the non-Black educators who use the term allegedly claim it is the intention of the authors whose works they teach that any reader say this word. Maybe these folks think they are emphasizing the horrors of whiteness ideology, which we must do. But as Audre Lorde taught us, we cannot dismantle the master's house by using the master's tools. As part of my liberatory praxis, especially with goals 1, 2, 3, and 5 in mind, I unequivocally refuse to harm students' dignities by inviting them to dehumanize themselves and others. Our students' identities are beautifully diverse. We just saw, right? They come from ancestries and heritages of cultural and historical abundance. In creating a safe space that functions as a conduit for liberatory education, I emphasize that as non-Black peoples, we must never say, write, or repeat this word, because it was created to harm Black communities. If a non-Black person insists on using the term, knowing that the term causes harm, then as Delroy Lindo asks, why would you want to use it? So as psychologist Jillian Granum notes, not only should we refuse using this word, but a non-Black person shouldn't even want to. And if they do want to, that desire is worth interrogating in themselves. I teach Ralph Ellison's A Party Down at the Square in my composition courses. Ellison, a Black author, uses this word over 40 times in this short story. Notably, every time Ellison uses this word, the reader witnesses the dehumanization of the white person using it. Ellison focuses on the attempts to dehumanize Black people, but Black people are too powerful to be dehumanized. And the result is that white people using this word at a lynching are in fact losing their humanity second by second. Liberatory education is about building communities in our classrooms that are always aware of the cultures, heritages, and histories we all come from. For an hour or two, entire worlds collide in a shared space. If we are angry about the injustices of this world, we cannot continue to bring harm, violence, disrespect, and dehumanization into our campus communities. So I want to leave you with something important to think about and consider from today forward. Do you love Black people like you love Black culture? So many of us enjoy Black music, food, clothing styles and hairstyles, literature, art, philosophy, shout out Frantz Fanon, and language. Black inventors gave us a 3-light traffic signal, blood banks, laser treatment for cataracts, refrigerated trucks, automatic elevator doors, microphones, color PC monitors, and so much more. You may really love a particular author, song, or movie, but do you also feel outrage when a Black person is harmed? Do you honor and uphold the dignity of Black people? Do you attentively listen to Black thinkers, scholars, and activists? Do you cite Black women? This 6-letter word, when used by non-Black peoples, will never undermine the rich histories, cultures, and contributions of Black people to our world community. But every time a non-Black person participates in dehumanization, but every time a non-Black person uses it in any capacity, that non-Black person participates in dehumanization. Every time a non-Black person excuses the use of this word by pointing to Black authors, musicians, artists, or that friend who gave them a so-called pass, that person harms others and themselves. Again, I ask you, do you love Black people like you love Black culture? Thank you.
See if this one works, so it can be a little more central. No, it's good. I just want to be a little more central.
Oh, no worries. Thank you so much to our very first Ed Talks, Dr. Tahani and Nikki. So grateful for you. Thank you. And our second presenter is Shelby McIntyre, and she is going to speak about career education and liberation. So thank you so much.
Thank you again to Professor Amy. That was a wonderful introduction to Ed Talks, and I'm so excited to see what else comes out of this. I want to actually start by reading the liberatory goals, which I'm sure we already did, but my talk really references a lot of them, so I want to read them aloud for us. So Pasadena City College commits to achieving liberation through education by providing the following to our students: opportunities to gain knowledge of the social, political, and economic structures in society to solve real-world problems and improve their communities, access to instruction that reflects and affirms students' identities and values, their lived experience and ways of knowing, occasions to engage politically to oppose structures that uphold systemic racism and other forms of oppression, removal of structural and financial barriers to achieving students' academic and personal goals, and finally, opportunities for students to express their cultural identity and experiences in safe and affirming environments. So just to start off there, my name is Shelby. I'm a career counselor at PCC in the Freeman Center, our career center on campus. And when I read these goals, I absolutely love them. They connect with me personally. And a lot of the work that I try to do with my one-on-one work with students and also teaching Counseling 17, which is our career planning class. And I'm also, outside of work, involved with professional associations, with public policy and government relations, because I feel powerless at work all the time. When I meet with students over and over and over again, and it's the same systemic barrier that they're facing, I just cannot help but feel like I have to be doing more. And so part of this talk is a call to action for our faculty to see what capacity, and everybody knows their own capacity, so it's okay if it's not the right time, but your capacity to be doing a little bit more when it comes to planning for our students, not just the end goal being graduation, but a career and gainful, livable wage. So, with that being said, that will start my presentation. So I'm talking specifically about career and workforce outcomes in the context of them also being liberatory outcomes and bringing these liberatory outcomes into career work. All right, so why career? Why am I so obsessed with career? Not just being a career counselor and teaching the class, also we have data that shows career is very strongly tied to students' motivation for seeking higher education. Over half of our students are here related to a career goal or making more money through a career goal. So it has a big impact on motivation and persistence. And when it comes to persistence, we find that the reason most students end up leaving is financial barriers, right? And it can be more accessible to overcome those if there's the goal of a stronger financial outcome in the future, right? So income is a huge piece of this. The other piece of this is that there are different goalposts. A lot of higher education policy and discussions around getting to graduation, which is so important, and we need to be doing better there, of course. But I'm also concerned about our third point here, which is our overqualified and underpaid graduates. We have come from an era of college for all, and I love that. I love college, I love learning. We're kind of moving into a world where education and training are becoming synonymous, even though they're different, and that's what I think these liberatory outcomes do a great job of clarifying. But at the same time, we are living in a world in which people sought higher education with the promise of social mobility, and now over 30% of our bachelor's degree graduates are underemployed, meaning they're in a job that does not require their degree and does not pay them for their degree. And that is a huge issue, and we see it disproportionately impacting our minoritized student identities, even 10 years after they get their degree. So, continuing on with why career, this pervasiveness of income inequality, these liberatory goals are about seeing our students' lived experiences and honoring them. And what I see every day is income inequality and wealth inequality, and I know our students see it too. So it has a space in our classrooms. It has a space in my office, in our conversations about career, and it has a space, I think, in your disciplines as well. Whether you are in a popular discipline like STEM, where it's known for, oh, you'll get a job for sure right after graduation. Right? But then my student says, hey, my brother who works in computer science got laid off and now he's not having any luck getting a job. What does he do? Right? So there, even if you're in this like surefire thing like STEM, all the way to arts that are typically stereotyped as risky, right? Or unstable, which is not always true either, right? So just this idea of income inequality as being part of our students' lives, and I hope it can be part of our explicit conversations as well. In addition to just recognizing that everyone in higher education is pretty much complicit in this incomplete social mobility narrative that we have. I think it's true, social mobility does come from higher education, but it's an incomplete narrative if we don't also talk about the fact that we still see disproportionate outcomes once students graduate in their wages and in their wages and their unemployment rate years and years after they graduate. So it's just something we need to bring awareness to and also help prepare our students take responsibility for it, right? And then this idea of social impact careers being low wage. So I do an assignment in my class where I connect with students' desire to give back to their communities, and I say, what does that look like for you? We look at the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, like ending poverty, equal access to education, removing structural barriers. And without fail, the majority of my papers come back and say, I'm gonna make enough money so I can donate. I'm gonna volunteer. And that's great, but that's like the only ways that when you come straight from high school, I think, and not all my students are in that group, but a lot of them, it's kind of like, well, in high school we did volunteering, we did donations and fundraisers, so that's the way I help my community. We don't understand that there's this vast wealth of opportunities that are socially good jobs, and part of that is because they're stereotyped as low wage, and part of that is because a good amount are low wage, and we need to do something about that too. And now we can't solve all the problems, right? So I know we're limited in our roles, but that's something that needs to be part of the conversation as well, is why are nonprofits that have to do with ending homelessness, supporting our families, supporting disproportionately impacted populations, why are those places that have such high work turnover, right? And the wages stereotypically, and not always. So I just want to make sure I'm not just conforming to that narrative. I also just want to speak to the legacy of oppression and professionalism. There could be so much said, especially from a career counseling perspective. A lot of traditional career counseling could be seen as, here's how you change yourself to belong in the world of work. And that's absolutely not what we do in our career center here, luckily enough. But it is something that is still existent in our classrooms, in our spaces on campus, and unfortunately with our employers that we partner with. So we do a lot of work and education around undoing that. But we also know that the world of work is very imperfect and still has a lot of these sexist, heterosexist, racist, of course, yeah, above all racist really, if we look at our workforce and how much white supremacy is baked into professionalism. So just we see all of that happening and we're trying to chip away at it, but we also need to prepare our students for that reality. And obviously you're already prepared because you live in it, but I think we need to kind of do our part to talk about it explicitly. And last but not least here is just this idea of individualism and hierarchies versus collectivism and communities. So I ground myself a lot in collectivism and communities when I'm faced with a US society and a capitalistic society inundated with individualistic thoughts, right? The social, climb the social ladder, social mobility as like a hierarchy, right? Jumping on the hierarchy instead of thinking how can we uplift all of our communities. Thinking about climbing the corporate ladder, thinking about I'll make money so I can donate to my community, which I definitely admire and we need to support, but how come it's still this individual and then giving back instead of uplifting our communities, right? So, these are just all the reasons I think career is part of these liberatory goals. And with that being said, I want to leave you all with some actionable strategies and some reflection questions, which is great because Amy's talk had some questions as well, so you'll have a lot to think about. So this first goal, this first strategy is to actively discuss income inequality and wage disparities within your field and your discipline and among it and outside of it, right? And so what I want to ask you there to think about is how connected are you with labor market information regarding wages in your field, and how familiar are you with the range of employment outcomes and wages that your graduates experience, right? If you don't know, that's okay. Also feel free to reach out to me, especially in the LMI, the labor market stuff. But how familiar are you, right? How much is that part of your conversation with students in their major courses? And I know there's general education, so there's a whole other conversation there, but particularly in their major courses, right? They're there to do the thing that they want to do for a living. Then, do you feel comfortable talking about potential income outcomes in your discipline to students? Is it something you actively don't feel comfortable talking about? And that might be worth interrogating. Second is this idea of collective action and just collectivism in general. So the goal is to help students identify strategies for collective action, whether that be unions and collective bargaining, employee resource groups that exist at any company, co-ops, employee-owned organizations, collectives, and similar things like that, right, in their future field of work. So the California Future of Work Commission came out with a report, I believe it was in 2020, and it found that being in a union is more consistently associated with a high wage employment than a bachelor's degree, which is kind of wild given the narrative and the strength of that bachelor's degree narrative. So do you feel comfortable addressing opportunities for collective action in your discipline and your field of work? If not, what's going on there, right? The United States went through a real period of like union busting and anti-union, and let me get this straight, unions have a big history of racism and problematic nature as well. So we don't just want to put unions on a pedestal, but just this idea of collective action and what can our students access that is not so tied to this compulsory individualism. In addition, just reflect. Do your students express a desire for collectivism in a culture inundated with individualism? And how do you address this in your classroom and discipline? I don't think it's just me. I think I see it reflected back in my students, but I also want you to think about that. Do you notice that? And then the last goal here is to support students in fostering a sense of empowerment and agency in reaching their own career goals, but perhaps more importantly, creating a more inclusive workforce and advancing equity in their field of work. So the first thing is just thinking about your impact. Do you have a sense of students' confidence and self-efficacy in their ability to reach their academic and career goals? And do you know how much power you have over that as a professor? You probably do, but it's good to take time to think of it every now and then, think of what a difference you can make when you show that belief in your students. And then, this is a big kind of vast one, but students are the hiring managers of tomorrow. Your students are going to be hiring people. So how do you instill a sense of agency and responsibility for students to create a more inclusive workforce and advance equity in their field of work for all of our communities? Thank you very much. If you have any questions about the data I cited, please feel free to email me. Thank you for this opportunity and for this amazing event.
I am blown away. And what I love about that is that this is in-house. We didn't have, this is the talent we have at PCC.
Yeah.
We didn't have to go out and, get speaker here, speaker there, whatever. We have that here. This is what our students have the opportunity to experience when they're in our classroom. So we want to highlight that more during our Ed Talks, and we will, because I've entered into a partnership, the Academic Senate has entered into a partnership with IEDJ. That is our institutional equity, diversity, and inclusion. I have to get the letters right. We've entered into a partnership with that department and Dr. Carrie Boland so that we could continue this work. So let's give that a hand. Yeah. Also, again, I can't stress enough, if you have a liberation story or you have something that you think our students need to hear, or faculty and staff as well, please be a part of this Ed Talk. This is going to continue. I already requested Dr. Price get his ready. Dr. Price, my mentor. And I'm excited. This has been an amazing experience. This has been a great, it's just been great. It's been the culmination of my presidency. Thank you all. Thank you. Just know that please check out our gallery wall. If you just came in, you may have seen it, but if you came in when we first started, you haven't seen it yet. It's the pictures just in all their glory. So please talk to our photographer. We'll be bringing him back for more work, hopefully, if he agrees, and more Ed Talk. So thank you all. Yes, sir.
Professor Wilkins' class will be resuming in our normal place of meeting.
Yes, still a place of business. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.